Okay, so this is quiz 5B. Okay, so we're supposed to find the voltage V here across the 2 ohm resistor using voltage division. Okay, so what I would do here, the basic strategy, is I would combine, the first thing we want to do is we notice that there's, from here to here, there's 18 volts. So that 18 volts is going to get split using voltage divider across this resistance, that resistance, and then the equivalent resistance here. Okay, and that would give us by voltage division, that would give us what that voltage is. And then we could use, once we find this, VA, we could then use voltage division for the 2 ohm resistance to find V. So the basic strategy is then I'm going to find the equivalent resistance here, find VA, and then do voltage division to find V. Okay, so that's kind of what we want to do. So the first thing to do is to simplify, this second part. So I would come down here, and we're going to have our 18, sorry. We're going to have, plus or minus 18 volts, and this is going to be 3 ohms, and then 2 ohms, 2 ohms, and then here I'll have 4 ohms, and then all of this stuff is in series. These three are in series, so I will have another 4 ohm resistor. Okay, now these two 4 ohm resistors are in parallel, so this is equivalent to the 18 volt resistor, and then we've got 3 ohm, 2 ohm, 2 ohm, and then I'm going to have another 2 ohm resistor there. Okay, so the voltage, whatever voltage is across here, this would be our VA, which would be up here, plus or minus VA. Okay, now we can do voltage division. We know that this voltage, the voltage from here to there is 18 volts. And so 18 volts gets split between 2 and the other resistors in series. So we could think of combining those into a 4 ohm resistor, and we'll have that VA then is going to be, it's going to be the 18 volts times 2 over 2 plus 4. Right, because it's this resistance divided by this resistance plus, those two resistances. So the 2 plus 2 plus 4. All right, so this will be 18 over 3, which is 6 volts. So, all right, so VA is equal to 6 volts. And now V is going to be 6 volts gets divided over this 2 ohm resistor. And so we're going to have V is going to be 6 times 2 divided by 2 plus, and now these resistances are in series relative to, this voltage divider, so 2 plus 2, so that would be 3 volts. Okay, so V is going to be V is equal to 3 volts. And I guess they give us the answer, but we got the right answer. Okay, so that's basically how you would do it using voltage division. All right, so now we want to do it using a current divider. And the idea here is that we want to see basically how much current flows through there. So what we would need to do is simplify all of those resistors so we could calculate how much current, And then we could divide how much current gets split this way, that way. Then we can come over here and say how much current gets split that way, and then Ohm's law would give us the voltage. All right, so I'm going to, this might be a little bit confusing, but I'm going to just erase up here. And so what we're going to try to do is find the total equivalent resistance. So we've already, maybe I'll switch to a different color. We've already simplified the circuit kind of to this point. Let's continue to simplify it. So we have 18 volts. We've got our 3 ohm resistor. And then notice that, these three are in series. So that would be another 6 ohm resistance. And now we can simplify that to 18 volts. And now I'm going to have an equivalent resistance that's 3 in parallel with 6. So I plug that in. I've got 3 times 6 divided by 9. And we get 2 ohms. Okay, so the current then that flows in this direction, or I guess we could say, the current that would flow in this equivalent resistance here, so that current, which is going to be the same thing as this current, I. So that current I, then, I is going to be equal to, using Ohm's law, it's going to be 18 divided by 2, which is 9 amps. Okay, so we can come back here and say that this is 9 amps. Or actually we could come back here and say, okay, this is 9 amps. And now we can do current division. That the current gets split that way and this direction. And so the current, let's call this current here IA. Okay, so current division says IA is going to be this resistor, 3, divided by the sum, 9, times this current, 9. So it's going to be 1/3 times 9, or 3 amps. So we know that IA, this current, is 3 amps. So that's, if we back up, that's going to be in this circuit, that's 3 amps there. Okay, so 3 amps flows, and then 3 amps is going to get split between these two. So let's find the current that flows in this direction, call it IB. So coming down here, IB is going to be, again, the current divider equation. It's going to be this resistance, 4, divided by the sum of these two, 8, times IA. So it's going to be 1/2, and IA is 3 amps. So it's going to be 3/2 amps. Okay, so we now know this current here. So the current here is going to be 3/2 amps. Is that right? Yeah. All right, so now we can find the voltage. The voltage through the 6 ohm resistor, little v is going to be just I times R. So it's going to be 3/2 times 2 ohms, I'm sorry, times 2 ohms, which is 3 volts. All right, so we get the same answer, 3 volts, using either current division or voltage division. We get the same answer.